Hello students, today we'll talk about the periodic classification. This is going to be the first lecture. First of all, why we need to classify? We need to understand and why there is a need to classify these elements. So before we can answer this, we need to understand and we need to ask one pretty simple question from ourselves. Is alphabet necessary to learn any language? Yes. To learn any language, we need a system. We need a fundamental, skeletal system to learn that language. In the same way, if we really want to learn about these elements are the primary force which guide us, which reacts, which form products, and definitely they make this life as we know it. So to learn about those elements, to find the interrelationship, to find and to know more about it, whether or not we can replace one element from other, what are the different properties, to understand and to know about the trends in their properties, to know further, to get further knowledge about these elements, we need to understand and we need to design a method. So as we can say that methods and proper philosophy needs sometimes to get developed. In the same way, when we start thinking about classify these elements, so it travels a whole lot of, what we can say, it goes through a very sharp journey. And now we have something in our hand, which we can say that, okay, at this point of time, we have something which can be considered as a proper classification system. My dear student, try to focus on this word, classification. Let's say there are 2,000 students and they want to learn something, and they enter into a building known as a school. But we need to design a method according to their mental setup. At present time, we are actually dividing those students on the basis of their age, but the proper classification can be on the basis of their mental setup, or what we can say the mindset. According to their mindset, mental setup, we can define that, okay, this student belongs to level number 7, level number 8, 9, 10th, 11th, or 12th. In school systems, these are known as classes. So simply, this is classification. So this is what we were doing. This is what we are doing. So we need to classify. So look at this, like we have this picture. So as we grow gradually, even the system of classifying elements, they develop over a period of time. And today we'll try to understand that overall system, the contribution from the different scientists. So classification of element in 1800s, we have only 31 elements known. In 1865, there are 63, and at this present time, we know 100 and more than 114 at this point of time. I think we know about 120 something. Okay, so but naturally occurring elements are just 93, and way more than that are man-made elements. Okay, so what is the main objective? To understand the properties of the element easily. They are classified systematically, like in a school. If we want to guide our student, if we want to teach our student, we need to classify them. It's nothing. There can be a thing that, okay, everybody's ready to learn chemistry, everybody's ready to learn accounts. No, we need to classify on the basis of their interest, on the basis of their mindset. Okay, this student belongs to class 7th, this one belongs to class 11th. So this is basically on the basis of their mindset. You need to qualify a certain degree, a certain test to get enter into those classified systems. So if you want to learn more about elements, we need to classify them systematically. So now, first of all, classification of elements, the main objective of this chapter will be understand the need of classification of element. I've already explained. Okay, understand the present form of periodic table, the modern periodic table. And you must have heard that Google is actually trying to, develop a periodic table that is responsive. Okay, you can just go over the symbol of the element and it will tell you about the different properties. So periodic table is pretty much important. So that is modern periodic table. So what are this SPDF system? We know about SPDF in our classes, belongs to atomic structure. But now we will understand how this can be applied in our periodic classification system. And understanding of periodic trend is pretty important and crucial. Okay, so these are the, what we can say the genesis of when we want to study the genesis of periodic classification. So first of all, we learn about Daubeney triads, then Newland's law of octaves, Northermeyer periodic table, Mendeleev periodic table, and modern periodic table. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about Daubeney law of triads. Triads, as we can say, and triads means a group of three. Okay, so what is a triad? A group of three. Now, what we can, just a second, guys. What we can think of, Daubeney tried to classify elements in a group of three, where the middle one, look at this. Like in this triad, the middle element had the properties average to that of the first and the third element. So like we can say the atomic weight of lithium is 7, the atomic weight of potassium is 39. So 7 plus 39 by 2, that is 23. And this is the atomic weight of sodium. So these type of triads were designed by Mr. Daubeney, this law is basically known as Daubeney law of triads. Now, drawbacks of Daubeney law of triads. Why we need to disprove this? You cannot say that in science, always believe that you will not say that this system fails. No, you will always say that this system has these limitations. And so only a few elements were known at that time, and it became difficult to arrange the element in triads because like in this, the elements are having like maybe, okay, fine. What we can say that beryllium, boron, and carbon. So in this case, what we can say, beryllium is 8, carbon is 12 mass, and this one is 10. So this is what we can consider as a triad. But in this case, this is not the case. This is not true. So this cannot be considered as a triad. So my dear student, these are the drawbacks. And again, we need to classify elements. And now we are just classifying these elements in a group of three. Again, there can be large number of these triads which will not hold this system true. So what we can say that this system is not 100% applicable. Okay, so we disapprove it. Then the Newland's law of octaves. You must have heard in your class 10th about this Newland's law of octaves, that every first and eighth element shows some similar properties. Octave means 8 notes of music, first and eighth. We have a repetition of properties after every, first and eighth element will show similar property. So every eighth element will definitely going to repeat those properties. This is what is true as per Mr. Johann Alexander Newlands. But as we can see, now this is the case, this is the overall scenario. Now we can say the sodium, lithium, sodium, and potassium, they can show similar property. And why is it so? There is a hidden truth. 21, 281, 2881. All of these are actually having the same outermost electronic, outermost shell electron, number of electrons in the outermost shells. In all of these elements are same, 1, 1, 1. So they have same outermost shell configuration. So about what we can say, the number of electrons in the outermost shells will be same for these three. And that is why they will show similar properties. But this is not going to be the case after the element number 20. Because as we all know, the 2, 8, 8, 18. Okay, so calcium will show some similar property to that of magnesium. because magnesium will be 282 and then calcium will be 2882. But after this system will not hold good. So it is observed up to calcium only. And one more thing, Newlands will not provide anything for the upcoming elements. According to Mr. Newland, the new element cannot be found, and so we don't need to provide places for these new elements. So in Newland's classification system, there is no scope of extension. Okay, guys, just a second. Yes. So what we can say now, the next one is the Lauder-Meyer system. So the next one is Lauder-Meyer periodic table. You know what? The concept of Lauder-Meyer was actually pretty much similar to Mendeleev. But time, my dear student, time. The work of Mr. Mendeleev was published earlier. And Mr. Lauder-Meyer was not able to publish his work well in time, but Mendeleev was pretty fast, and that is why Mendeleev got this much of credit. And just a few articles or paragraph will be written on Mr. Lauder-Meyer. So he plotted the physical properties such as atomic volume, melting point, and boiling point against atomic weight. Look at this, the similarity between the concept of Mr. Lauder-Meyer and Mr. Mendeleev. But still, Mr. Mendeleev will be regarded more than Mr. Lauder-Meyer. So this was the reason. And even the Lauder-Meyer classified the element on the basis of their atomic weights. And here's Mr. Mendeleev, the first person who gave us this periodic table. And so what we can say, the first periodic table, which is known as short form of the periodic table. The modern periodic table is known as long form of the periodic table. Mr. Dmitry Mendeleev, again, he proposed his periodic law that properties of the element are the periodic function of their atomic weights. So this can be considered as the periodic law given by Mr. Mendeleev. And these are the credits which generally given to Mendeleev periodic table, that Mendeleev does provide a space for the upcoming element. And remember this may be asked in your exams. Gallium is the eka aluminium, scandium is the eka boron, and germanium is the eka silicon. Okay, so he predicts somewhat the existence of unknown element and left some gap, naming them eka elements. Eka is a Sanskrit word. Okay, and there will be some sort of philosophies which believes that somewhat Mendeleev knows about this Sanskrit text, and he corrected the atomic weight of beryllium and indium by using this equivalent weight into valency concept. And we all are very much aware of this valency concept. I've explained it many a times in my stoichiometric classes. So now the concept of atomic number was propounded by Mr. Henry Moseley. And you know what? How these war can definitely affect the development of human society. And as human, we are, we don't give it a damn. Okay, let's fight it out. We lost this pretty important person in sciences, Henry Moseley, in First World War. And he was the person, a young mind, a young thinker, who actually gave us this atomic number, concept of atomic number. So according to Mr. Henry Moseley, this atomic number Z can be related to the frequency of the X-rays emitted by. You know what? When we were talking about the emission spectrum or the concept of emission spectrum, then once I said that these are basically the fingerprint of elements. And why we were talking about these emission spectrum patterns as the fingerprint of these elements, because the frequency emitted is actually proportional to the atomic number. And with this graph, Mr. Moseley was, explaining that frequency and atomic number. And the next one is, I have this another one. Yeah. Atomic weight is not that dependent, and we cannot have that dependency pattern with atomic weight of this frequency as it will be for atomic number. So Mr. Henry Moseley proposed that atomic number is more fundamental property than its atomic weight. And then we have this modern periodic law. So somewhat based on the concept of Mr. Moseley, we have this modern periodic law that physical and chemical properties of the element are the periodic functions of their electronic configuration. So definitely atomic number will be required for electronic configuration. So that is why we need to mention the atomic number also. But from the next class onward, when we will be discussing this the periodic table, then you will come to know that, okay, why this electronic configuration is that much important, because at each and every what you can say part of the periodic classification, you will come to know that, okay, why 3s1, the configuration of sodium, the outermost electron or the differentiating electron of sodium 3s1, how this will play a crucial role in the properties of sodium, in defining sodium. Okay, so this is our modern periodic law, and now we will move further for our modern periodic table. So guys, thank you. This is the first lecture of the genesis of periodic classification for our Sankalp batch. So like I believe that you must get something out of it. So thank you, and download our DGS classes app to get these notes, these PPTs, and further the test as per the topics. And do subscribe, like, and share so that more people can join us. And it will tell me that, okay, my efforts are actually beneficial for all of you. You know, many of my students were trying to say that, sir, please provide these lectures in English. And I'm trying, and I hope that you're getting it. You're able to understand these topics pretty well. So thanks for joining us. Take care, guys. Let's meet you on this Thursday with our second lecture.